What up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Funboxing with Will. I am your host, Will, with H2O Co. Film and Photo, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new EDC knife that I picked up that I really enjoy. It's one of my better pieces in my collection. It's going to be the CRK Inkosi Large Plain version. We're going to be checking out this knife today and talking about some of the features in it and some of the history of the knife and why it's considered to be such a great knife. So let's get into that video. Alrighty, now that we're back, before we go get into the top-down setup, I just want to go ahead and thank every one of my subscribers. Like always, I really truly appreciate you guys here. I do a lot of tech reviews, EDC reviews. Lately, I've been doing more EDC knife reviews just to build up that playlist. I do plan on getting back and forth between tech reviews and EDC reviews again here soon after I've built up my playlist a little bit more. But for now, we're going to be checking out this CRK Inkosi, and if you find anything in this video at all informative or you just like the video, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on bell notifications to get notified when I put out new content. Other than that, let's get over to the top-down setup to take a look at this knife. Alrighty, now that we're over here at the top-down setup, we can take a closer look at this beautiful knife, the Chris Reeves Inkosi. Now, this is a very expensive knife, and I know for a lot of people out there, when they get into the collecting of knives and folders in specific, this tends to be one of those holy grail type knives. This and the Sebenza as well, or basically anything from Chris Reeves. And I'm going to get into the reasons why in this video a little bit later in my personal opinions on that, but for now I just want to focus on the specs of the actual item. It's going to be a full titanium frame lock knife coming in with dual thumb studs. It has a ceramic detent interface here. It's pretty famous. It's the Chris Reeves ceramic detent ball. Basically, the ball interacts with the tang of the blade, and you never have to have the titanium actually rubbing up against the steel there. It's got a pocket clip that I find personally to be somewhat comfortable. It's not the best out there, but it's definitely not creating any super hot spots in my hand for sure. I hear that they've improved this pocket clip on this recent model. This one actually was manufactured on February 9th of 2023, so this is a very new knife off of the production line. This one comes in an CPM S45VN Super Steel, which is a great all-around steel. I love that steel personally. My favorite, I would say, is probably Magna Cut, but the S45 and 35 lines are a real second close because of just how well-rounded they are in general and how tough they are, as well as maintaining their corrosion resistance levels. So for me personally, those are some really good steels in my opinion. They went ahead and put the retention cutout on this knife on the inside of the scale, which is something I love to see. That way you don't have pocket clip hang up when you go to put your pocket clip in, and the titanium pocket clip has pretty decent tension but doesn't have so much so that it makes it a pocket shredder, I'd say. It's a pretty simple construction here with just the two pins and then the pivot. One acts as a lanyard pin. It actually comes with a lanyard, which was to be honest, I didn't enjoy it at all. It was only about as long as this right here. It's about that long maybe, and it was really getting in the way. I didn't want to put a lanyard on this originally, but I decided to go ahead and give it a shot because it was getting kind of hard to pull out of my pocket, and I I found with a longer lanyard, you can actually push it down out of the way and still hold it very comfortably. I would consider this definitely a full-size knife. I can get a full 4-finger purchase on it. I have a large glove hand, and I still have plenty of pommel sticking out of the back end of it. It has a nice little guard here, so to say, with the finger groove cut out, and then you have good access to the lock bar so that you don't have to worry about not being able to close the knife easily. They also have the traditional oversized pivots, washers in this, and they've done something very different with this, where they've cut out these really large gaps in around the washers, and they're called grease pockets for you to put your lubricant in, as well as they've managed to actually manufacture the washer to be cut around the stop pin and the liner lock itself. So the washer actually isn't a circle, it's the shape of the top of the knife, which is really awesome to see. That takes a lot of extra work in doing that, and for $500, it's something I like seeing. The one thing I did notice about this knife that I do not like is that it doesn't have an over travel stop. From what I can tell, there's no over travel stop. So if you wanted to push that lock bar out further, you probably could, and it could probably lead to some problems with lockup later on in the life. But again, the warranty on this knife is phenomenal, and that is something I'll talk about here in a minute. So getting into the weight, I think this is about a 4.5 ounce knife, I'm pretty sure. Let's see if that's accurate here. Let's see here. Always goes over to grams for some reason. So yeah, 5.1 with the lanyard. So without the lanyard, I'd say it's about 4.8, 4.9 ounces. And with a 3.5-inch cutting edge, that's coming in really close to that 1 ounce per inch rule, which I find to be pretty good of a standard, for that. It's going to be comparable to, say, let's see some comparisons here. Here it is next to the Hogue Dug Ritter. So you're going to see that it is a pretty good sized knife there. It's a pretty full size knife. Then here next to the Benchmade Bug Out for reference. And then we're going to go with the Para 3 here. Para 3 right there, and then we'll go with the Hogue Deca, which is another very common EDC carry to compare it to. And then lastly, we'll go ahead with the Civivi Elementum, which is a very popular knife right now on the market. So that is the comparison in sizes. Like I said, I would consider this to definitely be a full-size knife. The blade stock thickness on this thing this is probably one of the more slicey knives I've ever owned. I really appreciate the way the blade is ground, and it's pretty awesome the way they do it. So it's a 0.1415 or 420 blade stock, and then we're going to come in at, oh, sorry, let me get this. There we are, 405 thousandths of an inch. So 4.1 or 0.0450 is what we're coming in at behind the edge there, which is a pretty slicey blade. Sorry for some gunk on my blade. I was cutting some boxes open earlier with this. So yeah, it's definitely a slicey blade, and we're going to come in with measurements of, it's going to be 4.7 inches, almost 5 inches, 4.75 inches closed length with an overall length of, let's see here, almost 8.5 inches, 8.4 inches, and then you have a cutting edge of 3.5 inches exactly. So it's definitely a good size, hefty, overbuilt EDC, and the lockup on it is definitely pretty strong. Now, some of the things I wanted to talk about this knife after the specs that I went over here is, everybody, if you're new to knife collecting, you hear about these knives, the Chris Reeves knives, and there's a good reason for it. I found that there are two types of people when it comes to Chris Reeves knives. There are those who absolutely love them, and they're like diehard for life fanboys of the knives. And then there's those who think that they're overpriced pieces of junk. And it's a very weird argument to be in the middle of, because I see both sides. Now, as far as being called a piece of junk, it has nothing to do with the quality of the knife. It has more to do with the price point of $500. And people, their argument is that basically with today's modern manufacturing, there are so many more options out on the market that you can get so much better graded materials, I guess, or better steels for less money, that they think that this is, you know, garbage. Or I've also heard people talk about the design itself not being very ergonomic or comfortable. And basically those are the two main reasons that I've heard people bash on Chris Reeves knives. And then on the other side of that, the things that I hear people talk about being the good aspects of the knives are Chris Reeves. He is a very precise, precision-minded person. He has more of a background in machining, I want to say, originally. And you can go online and see interviews with him on his, I believe it's called the Chris Reeve Warehouse Tour, and it's on YouTube. It's about a 10-minute video where he talks about how one of his quality control operators had come in at one point, and they were checking the tolerances on his parts, and they found out that his parts were basically, he said, holy cow, you know, your parts they're tighter tolerances than what they have on most aircraft parts. And Chris Reeve looked at him and he said, yeah, well, I mean, if that's what we have to do to make the best product on the planet, that's what we have to do. And he stands true to his word on his manufacturing. This probably is one of the best, designed knives as far as fit and finish goes I've ever held in my hand. The parts just feel so precisely done. There's so much hand intricacy, like they hand grind the chamfered edges on the jimping there. They do that all by hand. You know, the milling of the bronze washers in there is done so well. And then there's that famous hydraulic action that you have with the knife where, you know, it's not a fall shut knife. So if you're looking for a fall shut knife, that's not what you're going to get here. You're going to get a very smooth knife that has a very intentional deployment and disengagement. And it's almost like glass on glass because the pieces are just fit together so precisely and so well. And you know, and it's not like he hasn't been winning awards. He has, I'll post it up here. Here's a snapshot of some of the awards they listed on the end tail of his video, on that warehouse video. And that was just, these are just since 2012. So since then he's won, I think he's won the best American manufacturing award again every year since then. So this is definitely a knife for a lifetime. And then there's the warranty, the Chris Reeves warranty. I recently purchased another knife that was a $570 knife, and it was the Spartan Harsey Folder Special Edition. It is a gorgeous knife, and I'm going to be doing a comparison video between these two here shortly. Look out for that video. But this is the knife, the Harsey Folder. I've done a review on this. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link to the description of in the description for this video here. This knife right here is specifications wise, it's made from the same materials, but this is also a knife that I find to be very artistically done, and just because of the engraving in it is something that generally I wouldn't want to carry around and use as a workhorse knife, even though it is capable of that and I have carried it and do use it. I would just be too worried that, you know, I would drop it or scratch it or screw it up somehow. And it has nothing to do with value. I could care less about the value of it. It just, it would hurt my heart because it's such a beautiful knife. It's such a beautiful piece. Whereas with the Chris Reeves knives, now Spartan has great warranties. Yes. Chris Reeves potentially has the best knife warranty I've ever heard anywhere on the market. They will not only fix or repair anything that goes wrong with this knife as long as it's not been caused because of abuse. Like if you go and stick your knife blade in the crack of a brick wall and then just torque on it until you break your blade in half, you know, I don't think they'd replace that. But, you know, anything barring you purposely abusing this knife, they will not only repair and fix for free, but they offer what they call a spa treatment for the knife itself. I'm kind of a clumsy guy, and I own an 80-20.5.
And the day I bought this knife, I accidentally dropped my 80/20 on this knife on my bed. And I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there are little scratch marks across the finish of this knife already. And that's from me dropping my Demco on it. And, you know, with my Harsey folder, that would have devastated me. But with this, it doesn't so much, because I know damn well in 10 years when this thing is completely scratched up and looking like crap, I can go ahead and send this in for what they call a spa treatment, which they will refinish the titanium scales for me, and they'll basically make it look like it's brand new again and ship it back out to me. So you know, a lot of the money that you're spending on that $500 knife in this particular case goes towards that warranty. That warranty is a lifetime solid warranty, and the company's been around since don't quote me, I think it's either 1992 or 1997. I know it's one of those 2 years. And so for a company that's already been around for 32 years and is still going strong in the market and still considered to be the #1, you know, contender as far as the best quality goes for American-made knives, I'm not seeing any foreseeable future where they don't exist as a company anymore. So this warranty is definitely a lot of what you're paying for. And Chris Reeves is from what I could tell in the video, he's a very hard-working guy, and he has very high standards for the things he does, and you can tell that when you look at his products. When you hold his knife in your hand and you open it up, and it feels like a single saw, like a fixed blade almost, because there's absolutely zero movement in any of the parts. It shows, and it shows in his work. So regardless of if some people don't like the ergonomics of the knife, which I completely understand, or the action, you know, this knife isn't for everyone out there. But for those who want a tool that is going to last a lifetime, more than a lifetime, that has an amazing warranty on it that you'll never have to worry about other than, you know, losing the thing outright, which they wouldn't cover, you're going to have a lifetime tool here if you pick up this Inkosi. So I was fortunate enough to be able to get my hands on one this last week, or 2 weeks ago, I think. And I've been carrying it for the last 2 weeks, and I love it. I have no fear of dropping it or scratching it up like I do my Harsey, and it's something that's still, you know, if you have friends that are into knives, it's a flex for sure to have a Chris Reeves, you know. But beyond that, it's just an amazing tool. The last thing I'm going to say about this is that the one thing that I have noticed about this knife in particular is that the quality of the cuts that I get from this knife are uncomparable to other knives that I've used. And I think a lot of that is because the hollow grind that they put on the blade is such a subtle hollow grind. But once it gets to the last 100,000ths of an inch on the blade, they stretch it out so that the last 100,000th inch, or the first 100,000ths of an inch on the blade, is actually thinner than the edge itself. So when you go to take material off of this for the first 15-20 times you sharpen it, you're not going to lose any of that sliciness that this blade has, because they've stretched it out with such a subtle hollow grind that it's actually thinner behind the edge. So the knife gets slicier for a while as you sharpen it, until, you know, the blade stock starts to get thick on you, but you have at least that 100,000ths of an edge. So I don't know if that's the reason. I feel like this just has superior cutting power to me. It could just be the, you know, the whole hype that I've had hyped up in my head, you know, for so long about Chris Reeves knives, and this being the first one I've ever owned. But these are my straight, honest opinions about this knife so far. I'm going to probably do an update video on this when I have had more time to carry this, other than just a couple weeks. We'll see how it, you know, fares after a year being in the pocket, and how much we like it then. But that's it for this review today, guys. So let's get back over to that desktop setup.
Alrighty guys, now that's it for today's review. Again, I appreciate every one of you, even if you're not a subscriber, somebody just stopping by to check out this video. And if you found anything in this video at all informative, or if you enjoyed any of it, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. I'm getting really close to 1,000 subscribers here, and I've been doing this for about 3 years, if you can imagine that. So I'm really excited that I'm getting that close to 1,000 subs, and each one of you guys who likes and shares my content really helps me out. So other than that, you guys have a great day, stay safe, and above all, stay creative, my friends, because we need more of that in this world. Have a good day. Until next time.